Hello everyone, welcome to KCA Production, where we bring you entertainment gist, beautiful stories, insightful documentaries, and many more. Today, we're going to be looking at a movie titled Crazy Castle. Before we go ahead, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel, KCA Production. Like this video, please. Share your thoughts in the comment section. And please share this video. The movie we're looking at today, like I said earlier, it's titled Crazy Castle. And just before we go ahead, I'd like to give you a brief overview and summary of what, to expect. Obina moves from the world of his village into the living consciousness of Crazy Castle. The story is a journey through space that responds to memory and presence. He's never spoken to. The castle communicates through shifts, echoes, and observation. By the end, he is both a part of the castle's memory and still moving forward, symbolizing a permanent connection between human awareness and the living world of the castle. All right, I hope you're ready to enjoy this beautiful, mysterious, suspenseful movie titled Crazy Castle. Again, before we go ahead, I'd like to ask you again to please subscribe to KCA Production. It helps us to reach more audience, and it also lets us know that you are actually enjoying our content. Yes, let's get right straight into it. Crazy Castle, as brought to you by KCA Production. In a land where silence carried meaning and the wind remembered every passing step, there stood a hill above the village of Aroka. It was not the tallest hill, yet it held a presence that made people turn their eyes away. At its peak rested a dark castle, untouched by time and known only as Crazy Castle. The elders did not speak of it often, but when they did, their voices carried weight. For the castle did not follow the ways of the living world. Obina lived in Aroka, among people who followed the rhythm of the earth. He was quiet, often watching more than speaking, and his eyes were drawn to the hill more than most. While others avoided looking at it, Obina studied it in stillness, as though something unseen called him. One morning, before the village fully awakened, Obina stepped out alone. The air was heavy with mist, and the ground held the coolness of night. Without turning back, he walked past the huts and toward the hill. Neka, an elder of the village, noticed him from where she sat. Her hands rested on her knees, her gaze steady. She did not move to stop him. Not far from her, Chike, a young boy, watched with quiet curiosity. His small frame still as he followed Obina's movement with his eyes. Obina reached the base of the hill. The wind slowed, and the sounds of the village faded into silence. The first step he took onto the hill changed everything. The grass bent inward, forming a narrow path beneath his feet, one that had not existed before. He climbed steadily. Behind him, the village blurred and vanished, leaving no trace. The path shifted as he walked, stones appearing where none had been, and shadows stretching in unnatural ways. The air grew colder, heavier, pressing gently against him. Halfway up, Obina paused. The ground beneath him felt uncertain, as though it no longer belonged to the world below. Turning back no longer felt possible. Though nothing blocked the way, still he continued. Near the top stood a twisted old tree, its roots gripping the earth tightly. Leaves fell slowly, without wind, circling the ground before settling. Obina stood beneath it briefly, then moved on. At last, he reached the castle. Its walls loomed dark and silent, its entrance open just enough. No sound came from within, yet it did not feel empty. Obina stepped forward and crossed into the darkness. And so, the hill took another memory into himself. The crazy castle did not call, nor did he resist. He simply received. For those who entered its shadow did not return the same, and the path behind them was never meant to remain. Within the crazy castle, entry is not an arrival, but a beginning. The walls do not greet, and the air does not welcome. Instead, the castle reveals itself slowly, allowing each step to uncover what cannot be understood all at once. Inside, Obina stood within a long hall. The darkness around him softened into dim shapes, revealing tall pillars rising beyond sight. The air was still, heavy with something unseen. He moved forward. His footsteps made no sound. The stone beneath him felt solid, yet distant, as though it existed separately from his movement. Along the walls, doorways appeared, some open, some closed, none alike. As he walked, the entrance behind him faded. Light diminished until nothing remained of where he had come from. The hall stretched endlessly ahead. Obina passed the first doorway. Within it, darkness shifted faintly, though nothing emerged. He continued. Another doorway revealed a faint glow, flickering gently. As he approached, the glow seemed to retreat as if responding to his presence. He paused briefly, then moved on without entering. They all changed softly, pillars shifted in perception, carvings rearranging into shapes that almost made sense before dissolving again. Time felt uncertain. Steps could not be counted. Ahead, the path split into three. One curved left, one right, and one continued straight. The air around them carried a quiet tension. Obina chose the middle path. The moment he stepped forward, the other two vanished, leaving only a solid wall. The path ahead remained, narrowing as he walked. At the end stood a large door. Its surface was rough, without markings, yet it carried a presence that could be felt deeply. Obina approached. The air grew colder, pressing inward. The silence deepened. He raised his hand and touched the door. The all behind him disappeared instantly. Only the door remained. In the crazy castle, paths are not chosen. They are accepted. What is left behind does not wait, and what lies ahead does not reveal itself freely. Obina had stepped beyond return, where movement no longer followed memory, but became part of it. There are places where walls do more than stand, they remember. In the crazy castle, rooms hold the weight of every presence that has passed through them, carrying echoes that do not fade with time. The door opened silently, revealing a circular room filled with pale, shifting light. Obina stepped inside, and the door closed behind him. The room felt full, though nothing stood within it. The walls shimmered faintly, forming shapes that appeared and vanished before they could be understood. The hair carried a subtle pulse, as though the room itself was alive. Obina moved slowly. His shadow stretched along the walls, bending and reshaping in ways that did not match his movement. Each step left no mark. Yet, something lingered in the air, as if recorded. Around the edges of the room, arches appeared, each led to a different space. None clearly defined. One revealed reflections without form, another showed a narrow passage that seemed to shift as it was observed. Obina approached one arc, then another, sensing their differences without entering. The room responded softly, its light changing with his movement. The walls shifted again, forming brief impressions, hands, faces, steps, none lasting long enough to be certain. They dissolved as quickly as they appeared. At last, Obina moved toward a spiral staircase, descending into dimness. The room's light followed him faintly as he stepped downward. The staircase felt endless. Shadows flickered along the walls, forming shapes that almost resembled figures, then fading. He continued downward until he reached another chamber below, smaller, yet equally alive with memory. The crazy castle does not forget. Every step taken becomes part of its knowing. Every movement a trace that lingers. Obina had entered a place where memory was not past, but present, and where even silence carried the weight of all that had been. In the depths of the crazy castle, movement does not fade. It multiplies. Corridors hold echoes not as sound but as presence, layering each step upon the last until the air itself becomes a record of all who have passed. The corridor stretched narrow and long, its walls close and unyielding. Obina walked forward. His steps silent yet felt in the air around him. With each movement, a subtle pressure followed, as though footsteps echoed without sound. The walls carried faint markings that appeared and disappeared, forming patterns that could not be understood. Alcoves lined the corridor. Some held faint light, others only shadow. Within them, impressions flickered, shapes of movement, fragments of presence, gone before they could be grasped. Obina paused at one alcove. A faint outline formed within it, resembling a figure in motion. It dissolved as quickly as it appeared. He continued. The corridor narrowed further. The air thickened, pressing closer. The sense of being alone faded, replaced by a quiet awareness of many who had passed before. Ahead, the corridor split into two. One path darkened, the other held a faint glow. Obina chose the glowing path. As he stepped forward, the other path vanished. The passage led into a small chamber where the air pulsed with layered presence. Every step taken here seemed to exist alongside countless others. Obina stood still for a moment, feeling the weight of it. Then he moved forward once more. In the crazy castle, echoes do not fade. They remain. Every movement joins those before it, shaping the path ahead. Obina walked on, no longer alone in his steps, but carried by the memory of all who had walked before him. In the crazy castle, even the ground refuses to remain still. Floors do not simply hold weight, they respond to it. Every step taken reshapes what follows, and what seems steady may change without warning. In such places, balance is not found in standing still, but in moving with what cannot be controlled. The chamber opened wide and circular, its dim glow spreading unevenly across the stone. Obina stepped in, and the ground beneath him shifted slightly, as though acknowledging his presence. The floor was made of large stone slabs, each set unevenly. As he placed his foot forward, the slab tilted gently, guiding his weight toward another. The movement was not sudden. It was slow, deliberate, as though the chamber itself had chosen how it would move. Obina continued carefully. Each step changed the floor behind him. Slabs lowered, rose, or shifted into new positions, erasing any path he might have taken. The chamber allowed no return, only continuation. Near the center, raised platforms formed a loose pattern. As Obina stepped onto one, it dipped slightly, causing another platform to rise ahead. The movement created a path, but only for as long as it moved. The air felt heavier here, not thick, but present, pressing lightly against him with every step. The walls curved around him, reflecting the faint light in uneven patterns that changed as the floor shifted. Obina paused on one platform. Beneath him, faint lines appeared in the stone, tracing shapes that resembled steps, circles, and patterns too brief to understand. They faded almost immediately. He moved again. The platforms rearranged themselves, forming a narrow path leading upward toward the far edge of the chamber. The ground behind him settled into stillness, as if nothing had ever moved. As he advanced, the distance seemed to stretch. What appeared close shifted farther away, while the path beneath him adjusted continuously. There was no fixed direction, only movement shaped by steps. At the far end, an archway emerged from the wall, it had not been visible before. Its edges were rough, blending into the stone around it. Yet its presence was unmistakable. Obina approached. The floor beneath him steadied for the first time since entering the chamber. The shifting slowed, then stopped entirely as he reached the archway. He stepped through. Behind him, the floor began to move again, rearranging itself into silence. In the crazy castle, even the ground remembers. It yields, resists, and reshapes itself according to those who walk upon it. Obina had crossed a chamber where movement defined the path, and stillness offered nothing. As it passed beyond it, the castle carried the steps within its ever-changing foundation. Not all memories are carried in sound or motion. Some remain as impressions, faint, incomplete, yet deeply present. Within the crazy castle lies a place where such impressions gather, forming echoes not of voices, but of existence itself. The gallery stretched wide, its walls lined with shallow recesses. A dim, pale glow revealed shapes within them, faces and outlines of figures that never fully formed. Obina stepped inside. The hair shifted gently, as though aware of him. His footsteps, though silent, seemed to ripple outward, brushing against the walls and returning in ways that could not be heard. As he moved along the gallery, the shapes within the recesses flickered. Some turned slightly, others faded, only to reappear further along. None remained long enough to be known. The floor beneath him felt steady, unlike the chamber before. Yet, he carried a subtle vibration. Each step sent a faint pulse through the ground, as though the gallery recorded his movement. At the center stood a raised platform. Obina stepped onto it. The hair grew heavier. The shapes within the walls became clearer for a brief moment. Faces without detail, hands without form, bodies without weight. They shifted as if acknowledging him. Then dissolved once more. The gallery did not trap him. It did not call to him. It simply observed, holding the presence of all who had passed. Along the far wall, an archway appeared, faint and easily missed. Obina moved toward it, and as it did, the shapes around him began to fade more quickly, as though withdrawing into the walls. He stepped through the arch. Behind him, the gallery dimmed, returning to its quiet state. The crazy castle keeps what cannot be held. It gathers impressions of presence and stores them within its silent walls. Obina had walked among echoes without voices, leaving behind a trace that would remain long after form had faded. Even within stone, life finds a way to exist, though not always as it does in the world beyond. In the crazy castle, there is a garden where nothing grows as it should and where stillness carries whispers that cannot be heard. The space opened into a courtyard beneath a pale sky. Light filtered down unevenly, touching broken tiles that covered the ground. Obina stepped forward. The tiles shifted slightly beneath his feet, though not as dramatically as before. Around him, strange plants grew, thin, translucent, their leaves moving without wind. As he passed, the plants leaned softly, then returned upright. At the center stood a stone fountain. It held no water, yet its surface shimmered faintly. Obina approached and looked down. The reflection did not show him. Instead, it revealed faint traces of movement, steps, shadows, moments that did not belong to the present. They shifted and faded continuously. The hair moved softly, brushing against him like a distant memory. It carried no sound, yet it felt like whispers just beyond hearing. Obina walked around the fountain. The garden responded gently. Shadows shifted along the walls. Tiles adjusted beneath his steps. The plants swayed in slow, deliberate motion. Nothing resisted him. Nothing guided him. At the far side, a narrow archway appeared. He moved towards it. As he crossed through, the garden stilled completely. The plant froze, the hair settled, and the faint shimmer at the fountain faded. The space returned to quiet. The garden of still whispers does not speak. Yet, it is never silent. It holds the memory of movement within stillness, preserving each step as part of its quiet existence. Obina passed through it as one more presence carried within its gentle awareness. At the heart of the crazy castle lies a place where all paths meet, not in direction but in memory. The tower stands as the center of its knowing, where everything that has been carried within the castle gathers and remains. A spiral staircase rose before Obina, leading upward. He climbed. The steps were worn, yet steady. The walls curved around him, close but not confining. Light appeared faintly as he ascended, growing softer with each step. At the top, the staircase opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling disappeared into a pale mist. The walls shimmered with faint patterns, echoes of every place he had passed, every movement he had made. Obina stepped forward. The floor beneath him formed a subtle spiral, mirroring the path he had taken to reach the tower. The air paused gently, carrying a sense of completion without finality. Around him, faint shapes appeared, shadows of corridors, rooms, and spaces he had moved through. They did not remain, but they were unmistakable. At the center, a soft glow formed. Obina approached it. The glow surrounded him briefly, not as light, but as presence. The castle seemed to gather itself in that moment, holding everything within a single awareness. Time slowed. Nothing moved. Yet, everything felt complete. Then, as quietly as it had formed, the glow faded. The chamber softened. The walls dimmed. Ovina moved forward once more. The crazy castle does not end. It continues. Those who pass through it do not leave unchanged, nor do they fully depart. For within its walls, every step becomes part of its endless memory. And though Obina moved beyond the tower, the castle remained alive in silence, waiting, remembering, and dreaming still. Yes, that was The Crazy Castle from all of us at KCA Production. I hope you did enjoy watching this one. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. Please drop a comment on the comment section, like this video, share, and keep coming back for more beautiful stories, folktale, mysterious, suspense, energetic, inspiring, entertainment gist and documentaries. Thank you very much again for watching The Crazy Castle from all of us at KC Production. Please remember to subscribe to this channel. Okay, bye for now.